Sabah everybody and welcome back. Poco just announced the F4 GT, the Poco Watch, as well as the Buds Pro. Now, the Buds Pro are gaming themed with Genshin Impact, as you probably will see very soon. But not only that, the phone itself is really a gaming phone through and through. We have triggers, we have quad stereo speakers, and we also have some really good capabilities with the 8 Gen 1. The Poco Watch can also be a very much active type of an experience type of watch, long battery life up to 14 days, and over 100 exercise modes that you can jump into. This is TK, and this is the announcement or all of the announced products from Poco today. Let's check them out. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So here we have the three products that were announced. The Poco F4 GT is the latest gaming smartphone from Poco that features some of the latest specifications. We're talking about the 8 Gen 1, we're talking about 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of internal storage, also 120 Hz refresh rate display, but not only that, we're also going to talk about their very fast 120 watt charging. The Poco Watch itself is also a very nice smartwatch that is basically focused around fitness, up to 14 days worth of battery life. And one of the really best features that we have in here is the fact that it works with both Android and iOS. We're definitely going to be checking it out on the brand new F4 GT. Now, last but not least, we have the Genshin Impact, the Poco Buds Pro Genshin Impact Edition. This is not only a themed type of an experience, but also it comes with a lot of nice goodies, even down to a carrying case, as well as a themed case, charging case for the brand new Buds Pro. But let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and open them up. As far as what comes in the box, we get the phone, of course. We get the USB-C to USB Type-A cable. This is a very nice cable. And one thing I definitely want to say I really appreciate from Poco is the fact that this is a 90 degrees cable that allows us to use the phone without having the cable protruding straight out of the phone. It actually not only caters to gaming, but also allows us to actually have the cable in there if we want to be able to use it while we're gaming. We also have a USB-C to headphone jack, 3.5mm headphone jack adapter that is included in the box. Last but not least is this 120 watt charger. Now this one's capable of allowing us to charge the 4700 milliampere battery in here in about 25 minutes from 0 to almost 100%. That's one of the best benefits that we have in here is the fast charging and of course fast technology that we have directly here in the Poco F4 GT. Now, next thing we have obviously is the watch. This is the Poco Watch itself. And as you can see here, definitely very nice. It has some rings in there. When you're wearing it all day, you can definitely see here. Let's give it a second. And it is very nice and very minimalistic. We have some optical heart rate sensor on the side, some nice little color strap. There's 3 colors that this one is available, as well as what the device is also going to be in. It comes in with the charging cable for itself, and that's pretty much it for the watch. Very easy. You pair it directly to your device. Works with both Android and iOS. And the really nice thing about it is it's just a really nice long battery life that you never really have to worry about charging it. The last but not least, obviously, is we have the Genshin Impact. Now, this one did come in a very nice looking, kind of like a booklet from Genshin Impact that you can open up. And of course, a very nice custom case made specifically. So really nice theming that we're getting here. It's not just a label that was put on the box. It actually is a very well thought out process or a systematic option here. Even down to the actual charging cable, as you can see right there. So USB-C, USB-A, even with this one in a red color. And of course, we have the Keeley logo here on the side, on the back, as well as the obviously LED in the front, the buds themselves. Very nice. A pairing button as well as a USB-C. This also does charge wirelessly, so that's very nice. And you can also pair it to multiple devices. They did include a very nice, very customizable backpack case that you're able to put on your belt, or you can also, of course, use the little option here to be able to hook it up to your one of the loops, and it opens up, and it's very nice. Fits the buds themselves, and makes it really nice for any fan of Genshin Impact. This is definitely going to meet and exceed your expectation when it comes to a themed pair of buds, especially when they're this good from Poco. And then, of course, last but not least, is they include a nice case that also works with this nice little function that you probably haven't noticed yet, but they actually included a couple of pop-up buttons. And what I mean by pop-up, look at this. So now when I push the buttons away, they open up, and there's 2 buttons that actually extend. So let's go ahead and close them, and you can see them right there, one by one or together. And these buttons are obviously configurable to be used during gaming. Now, this is one of the biggest thing about this phone. This is really a gaming themed phone. There's even a couple of LEDs, LEDs that are included in the actual camera module here for notification. We also have a dual tone LED flash here that looks like a little bit of a lightning bolt. We have a triple camera stack on the back, a primary shooter of 64 megapixels, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel macro lens. Now, on the front, we have a punch hole camera that's going to be a 20 megapixel camera that's going to give us the ability of taking 1080p 60 frames per second video. And the main sensor on the back, the 64 megapixel camera, is going to give us 4K 60 frames per second. The battery that we have in here is a 4700 milliampere battery, no wireless charging. Wired charging with a USB-C charger that we talked about here in the beginning. This one is giving us the ability of charging at 120 watts boosted or in power optimized mode. So there's a couple of modes to be able to charge, but it should be able to charge your phone in about 25 minutes, as I was able to test it out over the weekend. I've had the phone for the last couple of weeks, so this is something that I'm able to actually talk a little bit very nicely about. We have the IR blaster with one of the microphones, and we have a pair of 2 speakers in here. This is not a single speaker with 2 grills. There's actually a quad setup speaker on this device, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, that give us the ability of getting really good sound. But not only that, if you notice that they're actually positioned not on the bottom of the phone, so when I'm holding the phone and I'm playing games, it actually is in the right position. All 4 speakers are sitting in the spot where my fingers don't block. The bottom section of the phone, which I typically will block, does not get impacted. Of course, we have the trigger buttons that we have in here that are present in here. You can put them on, open them up, use them in either gaming mode or non-gaming mode. You can customize the shortcuts for them. We have a power button that's also married with the fingerprint sensor, and that's actually super fast, so let's go ahead and do that. As you can imagine, this is also a Poco launcher, so I'm able to put in a lock screen or a video lock screen wallpaper of Goku. And of course, we get this nice little kind of spherical 3D animation as well for the live wallpaper over here. The display that I have in here is a 6.67 inch 1080p Full HD Plus, basically running at 120 Hz with 480 touch sampling response, which means really good gaming capabilities that are going to be in here. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 is going to power this device, and one of the biggest benefits that we have in here, the fact that this is running MIUI 13 on top of Android 12. The model that I have is the 12 gigabytes of RAM with 256 gigs of internal storage, and of course you're able to get the 8128, which will also be a much, obviously a little bit better as far as the pricing, but overall exact same configuration. One of the main things I definitely want to cover here under additional feature with special features is that we actually have the LED light. This is something that's very nice that we're able to customize, and that's going to be the LED lights that are present here in the camera module in the back. You can customize them to turn them on, how to turn them on, using them with Game Turbo, all of that. Also, the ability of customizing the pop-up triggers. So here, if I pop them up, you can definitely see it. Now we have a nice little sound effect that I activated. So we have sound effect, animation. You can only customize them, change them, and of course make them to your heart's content or even turn them off. As far as customization and animation, you can actually change the triggers to change depending what you want. And of course, pop-up triggers, you can customize the actual function. For me, you can customize them just one thing. You can customize them outside of the gaming mode. So when you're in gaming mode, both of these customizations that we're doing are not functional. Meaning here, if I double press on the top, I actually have it configured to turn on the torch. And if I press and hold, I have it configured to open up the camera. Here on the bottom, if I double press, it changes basically to vibration mode. If I press and hold, it turns on the audio recorder phone and just real quick do a quick saving for one of those sessions. Now, if I'm in the main screen and I can just basically turn on or open them up, it takes me straight into the Game Turbo section, which allows us to actually start playing some of the games that we have installed on the phone. It's very nice. I mean, you can also technically launch it manually, but if you really want to be able to be very quick about it, this is definitely going to be a very nice way of doing it. So overall, the entire experience is very much a very familiar experience if we've seen other Poco devices. And what I mean by this essentially is that it's just basically the Poco launcher. We have the Google Feed sitting here on the left. And of course, we have the app drawer with the customized categories. Swipe down takes us directly into the notification panel. Let's go ahead and swipe that away. And of course, we also have the ability of seeing here. This is just all toggles. And if I want to be able to switch back, I just switch back to the other side. One thing to mention though, as I mentioned, this is running Android 12. So we get all of the functionality of Android 12, the LED notification at the top, the ability of seeing when the camera or the microphone is being used, and of course the ability of also shutting them down if we don't want them to play there. Now, the two things that they did include in the package as well was the Buds Pro as well as the watch. Now, the watch itself is very nice and very functional, very light, very easy to use. You pair it directly into the system. You just need to download the Mi Fitness app. And once you have that installed, you'll be able to add it as a device and then you can connect it to your system. So I'll give it a second to go ahead and update, and then we'll go back into the main screen. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this so early, so before it hits midnight, because the data will reset at midnight, of course, for the next day. So you can see here I have my steps, my heart rate, calories burned, and of course standing time, and of course last but not least blood oxygen, stress level, and of course if you want to add in the other options in there, you can customize workouts as well as the ability of going into changing watch faces. app notification, incoming calls, background permissions, heart rate, sleep. It even has the ability of configuring the 24-hour heart rate monitoring as well as stress level, which is definitely very nice. Weather configuration, you can link it to the camera app, workouts, widgets, app layouts, and so on. And of course, last but not least, you can customize your profile in here and log in with your Xiaomi account, which is very, very easy and very nice. Now, as far as the Buds Pro, pretty straightforward. When you first open them up, if you haven't paired them directly to a phone, it'll automatically pop up on Android devices. For me, I've already paired it with my device here, and you can actually pair it with 2 devices at the same time. So it does support multi-device. So you'll notice right there, Buds Pro, GenShin Impact, right away. And of course, we'll go ahead and just jump in. No application is needed if you're using a Poco smartphone. Directly just go into the Bluetooth settings, and you'll be able to basically see all those functionalities set up. We'll get battery status on everything, 88% on the case, 100 on both the buds. We have active noise cancellation, transparency, as well as off. One thing to mention, the rated 28 hours is actually rated to be when you're using active noise cancellation off. So basically, in this mode, this is where you'd be able to get the 28 hours. You can update the software, rename the buds, have it connected for phone calls, media connection, in-ear detection is also right here, connecting 2 devices, answer calls automatically, notification shade widget. Of course, the ear tip or the ear fit, so you can definitely make sure you have a good fit, and of course, missing earphone alerts. Absolute volume is in there. It does support AAC as well as SBC, but you do need to turn this function on, otherwise it doesn't work. It works automatically with SBC. Last but not least is low latency mode for gaming. Since these are gaming themed buds, it goes to show that you'd expect them to be running obviously also some customization, and this one works very, very nice. All of these again are built in directly, and the noise cancellation, just for reference, it actually has a negative 32 dBs, which has worked very, very nice. And what I mean by this is it actually had the ability of eliminating the sound of my PC and all 9 fans that I have in there while I was sitting less than 1.5 feet away from it. That's how good these are. But overall, very nice, very simple, good battery life, good sound, and of course, very nicely customized. Now, one thing we'll talk about the camera here is that we have a 20 megapixel sensor on the front, a 64 megapixel sensor on the main one on the back, as well as the 8 and the 2 megapixel. Now we have video, we have pro mode, we have photo, portrait, and more, and of course the ability of taking full 64 megapixel images, cloning, dual video, long exposure, all the different modes that we're able to do here, and of course all powered by the 8 Gen 1. One thing to mention though, on the front-facing camera, you're capped at 1080p 60 frames per second for video, and as far as the back sensor, you're only able to do 4K 60 frames per second as the main, the primary or the best resolution, and you're not able to do that on the other sensor. So the 8 megapixel will drop you down to 1080p, and the 2 megapixel is primarily done for macro photography. So for the most part, 4K 60 is going to be the best. So let's go ahead and do a quick sample of the front-facing camera and the back-facing camera on the F4 GT. We're going to start off with the front-facing camera right here. It's going to be 1080p 60 frames per second as the maximum resolution for video. Now obviously with photography you're definitely going to get better performance, but 1080p 60 is the best that we can shoot here. Let's go ahead and switch over to the main sensor on the back, which can shoot all the way up to 4K 60. Now we're shooting on the main sensor on the back. 4K 60 frames per second is going to be the best that we can shoot here. There's no 8K, and I'm not sure why, but I feel like 4K 60 is going to be the best resolution to actually shoot in and then share from. So in case you want to slow it down to 30 frames per second, you get some really nice high quality image. Always shoot higher and share or produce at a lower resolution so that you have a better source data. So again, the best camera on this phone is going to be the main shooter on the back. Now as far as performance, I'm pretty sure you guys want to know. Obviously Geekbench 5 here, single score is 1179, multi-score is 3460. As far as actually speed tests, I was able to run a couple of speed tests here in Los Angeles. Again, I was running this on T-Mobile. Overall, it's actually not bad, just it's not going to be the fastest. It doesn't register 5G yet here, so it's pretty much 4G LTE. So I got about 70 down and about 60 60 up. So overall, I don't think it's a big issue. One thing to mention, these are considered to be still pretty fast connections. Even if you're getting much faster connections, it's really certain very small circumstances where that's going to be a concern. But playing games, doing everything online, I had no problem receiving emails, sending emails, connections, everything was working perfectly fine. Now there's one more thing obviously we always want to know is how do the speakers work on this phone? Now, as I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, we have a quad stereo speakers configuration here, 2 speakers on the right and 2 speakers on the left. We do also have Dolby Atmos configuration to be able to customize the EQ on the system, but of course we're going to be able to see how well do they sound. This is 100% audio playback, as you know normally we do. This is Alex Crindo Jumbo by NCS Release.
Jack it up.
And as you heard there, the sound actually is pretty good. It doesn't have a lot of very forced bass, but it definitely sounds good enough at the highest level, and there's no distortion. One thing to keep in mind is, of course, with Dolby Atmos, you'll be able to configure it to your heart's content. And of course, if you're going to be using wireless connectivity, like let's say the GenShin Impact Buds, make sure you turn on gaming mode when we get into the gaming system. Okay, so the game turbo is pretty straightforward. You get access to the games. You can actually add additional games if they're not listed in there. So you just go into the plus, find the games that you're missing, and then it'll be able to add them directly. As you notice, we have a few games. I have Undead Horde. I have obviously Call of Duty. I also have Genshin Impact, and of course, New State, PUBG Mobile, and of course, Geekbench. I ran it directly in the gaming system here so that I'm able to get the best performance possible. But overall, let's go ahead and jump in real quick into the Call of Duty game. I want to show you guys real quick how does the actual interface look like and how do we customize these triggers. Now, once we're inside of Call of Duty Mobile, it's pretty straightforward. You just swipe from the top left. You have access to a few systems here for pop-up windows, so they open up in a smaller window. We also have obviously access to the game turbo, clear memory, do not disturb, screenshot, screen recording, casting to a bigger display. Turn off screen here if you want to be able to do that. Brightness and saturation, as well as brightness, and of course settings. Shoulder buttons are also able to customize here. You're able to customize them both on the top right and top left. One thing to say that if you customize them in the actual game, this is obviously different from when you have them outside of the gaming system. So here, if I double press, it's not going to open up the torch or the light in the back because that's actually disabled in the system. But the way I have it here going with Call of Duty, I have basically the top right trigger opening up the crosshair so I can actually start aiming, and then the left one is basically just firing. So that gives me the ability of controlling, or at least allowing me basically do my movement, my normal configuration. And of course, the best thing to do is to wait to get into the actual match, pause it, put that in and customize it. And of course, we're getting a chance to get and enjoy a lot of really good experiences on this. So let's go ahead and jump into some samples of gaming on the brand new F4 GT.
Target inside! Target down! Target inside! Contact with enemy! Enemy contact! Contact with enemy! Target inside! Target down! Cover me! Reloading!
That's cheating!
Is this an answer from this world?
As you saw there, gaming is not going to be a problem. Genshin Impact played really well at 60 frames per second. PUBG Mobile New State as well as 60 frames per second, and of course with Call of Duty Mobile. Very few systems are able to play it at a higher frame rate, but for what we are able to get here with the higher resolution, we're able to play them very nicely. And I think that's the biggest benefit here. The triggers that we have in here are very, very functional. It's something that I appreciated on other devices, even when we talk about gaming phones, because when they're focused more on that gaming experience, the triggers become very more systematic. I mean, unless you're very comfortable doing the claw or the spider fingers on the display, I feel like this makes it so that we're actually kind of more of a trigger situation, and you can use your thumbs to do the navigation as well as basically do the trigger and pull the, and then of course, win those games basically. At the end of the day, the entire experience that we're getting here is very nice. The cameras on this is also very good. We don't have a very high megapixel camera count here because this is, again, more focused towards gaming, although the 64 megapixel camera is actually quite capable of providing us some pretty good, not only video, but also pictures, as we're seeing right now. The front-facing camera, 1080p 60 frames per second, and I feel like it's the best that it could do, but it does actually do also decent when you're trying to do like portrait photography as well. So if you want to take a group selfie or something like that, you're not going to be disappointed. Overall, of course, using it with the Poco Watch was also a very good, very well-rounded experience, really, because you get to have basically all the functionalities and the long battery life on there. And of course, with the Buds Pro, you're getting some of that really good audio experience. We have SBC, AAC, as well as Dolby Atmos configuration. So a higher codec qualification there, plus a good tuning based on Dolby Atmos, so you're not going to be disappointed. If you're going to use the speakers to be able to watch content and enjoy it that way, you're also going to be getting a really good experience because we have a quad speaker system here. Now, one thing we don't have on this is a headphone jack, but they do include the dongle in the box. That's something that's very important. So not only do we get the charger, we get the cable. That is a 90-degree cable, which is very rare also. That little attention to detail when you get from a company really excites me because we typically don't get these things. So this is very nice, and I'm very happy to see that that's what we have. So overall, what we're getting here is a very good gaming experience for a smartphone from Poco. So they're definitely jumping in. This is the F4 GT. This is definitely great gaming, and you're not going to be disappointed. Now, there is no 8K. I would have wished there was something in there. I know the 8 Gen 1 can provide us that experience. I'm not sure if it's a limitation or a choice, but at least at this point, we don't have 8K recording. 4K 60 though, I feel like is still the best experience, and for me, the main sensor on the back is going to give you the best experience on this phone. Everything else you're getting here is pretty much very nice. They are going to be obviously sold separately. There's going to be different colors for the phone. There's going to be different colors for the watch. The buds themselves right now, as far as I understand, is going to be basically the GenShin Impact or the GenShin Impact edition. They're limited edition, very nice, and is definitely worth picking up. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for the support. Of course, thank you to Poco for allowing me to check out this amazing package of all of their new announcement. Of course, their forte into the IoT connected smartwatch, as well as the ability of going into earbuds, is definitely very nice, and seeing that Poco is expanding their portfolio. They still give us great phones, they're great pricing, but they're definitely giving us a really good customized experience. That GenShin Impact case accessory is really, really cool. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I love the game. I love basically seeing themed experiences, and they really went out of their way to make this really special. So I'll see you in the next video.